Hey, Dan Passarelli here. Well, the week kicked off on the upside with the S&P 500 up 0.5%, with SPY closing at 660.91. That was up because apparently there's maybe a good hope for good negotiations on tariffs with China, partially because of maybe the prospect of some part of the Western world here buying into ByteDance's TikTok. That's what some sources cite, but seems a little far-fetched for this rally. But hey, I think I want to talk about something a little bit more interesting today, though. The U.S. Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, has spoken today about wanting to build up the strategic uranium reserve to make the United States less reliant on Russian uranium, where we get about 25% of our uranium from right now. Obviously, if you listen to the news or listen to my videos, that's kind of the trend with this administration, to stop relying so much on foreign powers, particularly contentious foreign powers. So, they want to build up the uranium stockpiles. And he also mentioned wanting to build more nuclear power facilities, from the large reactors and small modular reactors, which is a thing where a city could potentially have their own small reactor. What does this mean for investing? Well, I mean, it's interesting. A lot of the uranium miners popped pretty good today, up 9 or 10%. This has been a topic that the administration has addressed in the past already. The shares are up from around April 3rd. The shares have really climbed pretty aggressively since then. So which company that mines for uranium would be the best one to buy? Take a look at this chart. This is a chart, a line graph, that compares Energy Fuels, which symbol is UUUU, and Cameco Corporation, whose symbol is CCJ. Cameco Corporation is in the red and green Christmas colors here, and Energy Fuels is in the purple color. So now the way these work when you compare charts, we have the graph of UUUU on the left and of CCJ on the right. So they kind of are moving in the same direction. There have been some periods where CCJ has outperformed, and then UUU sort of caught up. They're kind of different companies from a financial standpoint. Energy Fuels does not have positive earnings for the past trailing 12 months. So their PE ratio, therefore, is negative. CCJ, however, which is a much bigger company, they have a nosebleed PE ratio of a little over 90. Now, that's a very, very high PE ratio. As far as their operating cash flow goes, well, that's negative for Energy Fuels. It's good for Cameco, but the price to operating cash flow for Cameco is 40 times operating cash flow. That is a very, very big price to operating cash flow level. Cameco pays a dividend. UUUU does not. And as far as cash, they're both pretty flush with cash. And here's where the story kind of gets interesting on which one might make more sense. Energy Fuels has about 8 times current assets to current debt, whereas Cameco has a respectable about 3 times. But 8 times, wow. Now, why do they have 8 times? Well, because Energy Fuels is a much smaller company, okay? And they kind of have feast and famine, right? They mine and then they get some orders and they have a great quarter and then they kind of go back down. They're small to mid-tier at best. Whereas Cameco is a bigger company that has steadier cash flow and steadier earnings. Normally, I like to see steady earnings, but not when it's priced 90 times earnings from a PE ratio standpoint. Another thing that really comes into play is this idea of, I don't know how to put it. Let's call it national identity. Let's call it keeping it in-house. Energy Fuels is an American company. They're headquartered in Lakewood, Colorado. Cameco is a Canadian company. Now, Canada, our neighbor to the north, we generally have friendly relations with them. Canadians are thought of as nice, but I guess lately they don't like Americans. They're kind of mean to them, so maybe they're not as nice as they used to be. The ones I know are, though. What does that mean as an investment? Well, if the U.S. is going to buy uranium from somebody, they could buy from either. But if I have to decide which one, I would say there's maybe a greater likelihood of them wanting to keep it as in-house as possible and buying from an American company. UUUU is priced a little over $10. What is it? Closed today at about, let's just take a look. Yeah, $13.82. So, I mean, you can buy a lot of shares with that. All things considered, I would say that Energy Fuels is kind of more of an option type play than a conservative stock investment. Whereas CCJ is not an option. I mean, that's a much higher stock price, but not really a conservative investment at 90 times earnings. Which would I invest in? I am invested in Energy Fuels, in this one. And I plan to remain invested in it and maybe even pick up some more and dial back my covered call selling. Hope that helps. This is Dan Passarelli, Trade Smart.